knew full well that her husband's heart belonged to another woman, yet she acted as if nothing was wrong. She actively helped her rival pick out gowns, her face betraying no hint of displeasure. Concetta couldn't understand Angelica's intentions at all, but she was grateful for the help nonetheless. Little did she know that Angelica and Tancredi's marriage was already falling apart. That evening, Angelica went to a hotel with the French ambassador and stayed for a full hour before coming out. To her surprise, Prince Selina was waiting outside, his face burning with anger as he stared at her.
L'autorità di un principe si estende anche alla stanza da letto di una ragazza adesso.
Se è sua nipote, sì.
When Angelica saw the prince, she showed no signs of panic. Instead, she told him a harsh truth. Less than 2 months after their wedding, Tancredi had already betrayed her. Their apparent happiness and harmony was nothing more than a facade.
Ora tu mi prometti che questo non succederà mai più.
Angelica walked past him with a bitter smile, offering no excuses and making no promises. Ever since she was 12 years old, men had been talking about her behind her back. She too had wanted to be a respected noble lady, which is why she had obeyed her father's arrangements. But reality proved that marriage hadn't brought her the happiness she had hoped for. That night, the prince hesitated, but finally decided to tell his nephew the truth. When Tancredi learned of his wife's affair with the French ambassador, he showed not a trace of surprise or anger.
Hai capito, ragazzo, che cosa ti sto dicendo?
Non ti devi preoccupare, tutto sotto controllo.
He calmly explained that his wife's ambition was even greater than his own. To advance his career, she was using her body as a bargaining chip, hoping to secure him the position of Italian ambassador to Paris.
Cosa diavolo stai dicendo? Tu l'hai assecondata? Hai incoraggiato questo schifo?
So, zio. Da che mi ricordo tu hai sempre avuto una mano.
Stai attento perché io sono ancora in condizione di spaccarti la faccia.
The prince never could have imagined that the nephew he had carefully nurtured would turn out so despicable. All his years of devotion and love had been wasted. He didn't sleep all night, pacing back and forth in the courtyard, reflecting on where he had gone wrong. After breakfast, Prince Selina took his daughter to the Senate to give his pre-inaugural speech. However, he didn't stick to his prepared remarks. Instead, he spoke from the heart about his genuine feelings during his stay in Turin. This time had reminded him of who he was and where he came from. The new government had extended an olive branch, offering this declining nobleman a Senate seat, but he had discovered that caught between the old and new worlds, he couldn't fit into either side or adapt to either. Therefore, he decided to decline the Senate position and return to Sicily to live as an ordinary, leisurely citizen. The next day, as father and daughter were preparing to leave, Angelica burst in excitedly with a letter, an official appointment naming Tancredi as ambassador to Paris. The prince couldn't understand the couple's joy and excitement. He couldn't accept a position obtained through such means. That day, there would be a ball hosted by the nobility. Since the old regime had been overthrown, they had been quiet for a while, but the new government hadn't brought any real change to this island that had slept for 2,000 years. The city's high society had returned to their frequent ball-hosting lifestyle. At the ball, all of Sicily's nobility was in attendance, including Tancredi and his wife, who had been invited back by the hosts. The moment Concetta saw the couple, her smile vanished instantly, and she excused herself to get a drink, leaving the dance floor. When Angelica saw Bomberone, she teasingly called him the groom, saying that anyone who could steal the Leopard King's precious daughter from him must be the bravest man in the world. But Bomberone replied that the prince was kind and warm, and he was proud to become part of the Selina family. Concetta went to the restroom and happened to encounter Angelica, whose first words were about how difficult it was to escape one's identity.
A volte lo colgo che mi guarda di sorpresa e so che sta pensando a mio nonno, la baracca in cui è nato mio nonno, al nostro squallore. Sono sicura che non è così. Avresti dovuto essere tu con Concetta. È così. Non vuole le sa queste cose.
Angelica knew that no matter how hard she tried, she could never change her humble origins or find her way into Tancredi's heart. Meanwhile, the governor who had once seized the land found the prince, hoping he would buy back all the land at market price. He was now impoverished because the land manager had colluded with Mayor Sidara, and the tenants had been sabotaging the land, forcing him to sell to Sidara at rock-bottom prices. However, the prince said he was powerless to help, lacking sufficient funds to reclaim that land.
Siamo tutti destinati all'indigenza. Ora ci siete solo arrivato prima.
Although the prince couldn't help with this matter, he still went to find Sidara, hoping he would know when to stop and not continue being so greedy. Sidara explained that nobles had inherited land and never had to worry about money, but people like him were born with nothing and had to treat every business deal as if it were their last, refusing to compromise by even a penny. Sensing the tension, Angelica walked over and invited the prince to dance a waltz. Without realizing it, everyone around them gradually stopped dancing and stood watching their performance. Their dance steps amazed everyone present, dazzling like a perfect stage performance. The prince, who not long ago had been captivated by that perfect face, now had only his wife's image in his mind. He began to miss the past, and at that moment, he finally became acutely aware of his own aging. Angelica's youthful, beautiful figure and his wife's appearance intertwined before the prince's eyes as he finished the dance in a daze.
Grazie.
Con permesso.
After the song ended, he left dejectedly while the party continued. Angelica's story was nearing its end. When she appeared again, it was at Prince Selena's funeral, and she had brought Concetta a substantial fortune. She had used money to buy back all the land that had originally belonged to the prince and given it to Concetta and her siblings. But even so, she appeared only as a dependent.
Avete ancora il vostro nome, non lo sappiamo tutti che non avete piccini da spiegare.
Non avete saputo? Nostro cugino ha sposato una donna molto ricca. Anzi, una donna con un padre molto ricco.
Angelica's role ended completely here. Angelica's fate is truly lamentable in that era, simply because of her common birth. Even though wealth improved her living conditions and marrying into nobility improved her social status, she could never escape the fate of being used by others and never gain true respect.